I want to make one thing perfectly clear before I get on into what I want to talk about here about this particular subject. I am still a fan of Tessa Blanchard. Now, some of you might not agree with that statement. Quite honestly, I don't give a shit. I'm still a fan of Tessa Blanchard. I will always be a fan of Tessa Blanchard. Do I agree with what she has supposedly said? Of course I don't. I'm not going to let that hinder on what I think of the woman's work. Simple. If you have a problem with me, and a problem with me enjoying what Tessa Blanchard brings to a wrestling match or what I think of her in-ring ability, then you're as dumb as I think you are. I'm a fan of Tessa Blanchard. End of story. Now, she won the Impact World Championship from Sami Callihan. Everybody assumed that she would. Everybody kind of expected it. This was something that Impact has built over their TV show for months. They were not going to deviate away from what they had originally planned. She won the Impact World Championship against Sami Callihan in the main event of Impact Hard to Kill. At the end of the night, I'm sure Tessa Blanchard was thinking that it's going to be very hard to wash away the stink of this latest controversy. Something that might live with her for the rest of her career. And I hope that she knows that. Tessa was in the headlines for the wrong reasons over the weekend on social media, which was not the place to be on Saturday and Sunday, and I would have advised you to stay away. The pro wrestling community on Twitter is an absolute dumpster fire. It really is. And it's getting worse by the weeks. If I did not have this channel, I would not be on social media. I swear on my grandfather's tomb. I would not. And you know when I say that, I mean it. I would not be on social media. It is a cesspool of garbage. Everybody on social media has the collective IQ of a fucking pea. Nobody knows what they're talking about. And I'm sure if I wasn't on the platform, that people would be throwing parades every Monday during Raw. But sorry to tell you, cretins, I'm going nowhere. As long as this channel is alive and thriving, I will be going nowhere. Twitter is where I will reside, unfortunately. But if you were on Twitter Saturday and Sunday, you got called things that I'm sure you weren't expecting during the day. And if you said anything positive about the main event of Hard to Kill, you were labeled a racist. Because that's what I was labeled on Sunday night when I praised the work of Sami Callihan and Tessa Blanchard. I merely praised the work of two individuals that I respect greatly from an in-ring perspective, and I got called a racist. That's how things work in 2020. She was in the headlines for the wrong reasons. She was accused of bullying and racism. Former colleagues, including NWA Women's Champion Allison Kay, Chelsea Green, who is the fiancée of Zack Ryder, Isla Dawn, who I believe is still with NXT UK, amongst others, which we will go over here. She won the World Championship on Sunday night. The show faded to black, and I was very confused as to why there was no celebration. The camera didn't pan into the celebration that was going on in the ring. They faded away, and the show ended abruptly. Kind of reminded me of when Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam last year, and the camera, or not last year, 2018, when he beat Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns beat Roman. When he beat Brock Lesnar. You guys know what I mean. When he beat Brock Lesnar in Brooklyn. The last year WWE was in Brooklyn. They cut away so quick at the end of the show. When you watched it back on the WWE Network, there was no celebration. He beat the Beast. He won the title. Goodbye. WWE did not want you to hear the negative backlash that I'm sure they were looking at in that building when he won the championship. So much so that they trotted out Braun Strowman to tease everybody that a cash-in was going to happen. Yet they had Roman Reigns win the title anyway, so Strowman was only out there to diffuse the situation. And when WWE heard that the fans were getting rowdy, goodbye. Impact did the same thing following Hard to Kill. They cut away, faded to black, and the show was over. But what we did not see was a post-match speech that fans obviously filmed being there and posted it on Twitter. This did not air on the pay-per-view. And this is what Tessa Blanchard said after beating Callihan for the world title. And I quote, "Over the past 8 months, this has been my life. Sami and OVE have been a thorn in my side, and tonight, we did it. Nobody in this life is perfect. We are all human. And it doesn't matter what you say about me. It doesn't matter what you call me. I've got one of the strongest minds that I have ever known. Whenever you come for me, you come for all of these people. And now I am the standard bearer in Impact Wrestling. And man or woman, pound for pound, I am one of the best in the world. And I am now your world champion." End quote. Tessa Blanchard was accused of bullying and racism. This is what Allison Kay said in regards to a tweet that Tessa Blanchard put out. "Hey, women, try supporting one another. Cool things happen," is what Tessa Blanchard said. This was on January 11th at 1:02 p.m. Allison Kay says this, and I quote, "Remember when you spat in a black woman's face and called her the N-word in Japan? Was that you supporting women? The audacity of this tweet." She wasn't done. "The reason I've never said anything until now is because it wasn't my story to tell. I made it clear to La Rosa that I had her back, and today was the day she gave me permission. You can't force someone to come forward, but you can be there for them. That is supporting women." Chelsea Green chimed in. She posted a GIF from Saturday Night Live that simply said, "I remember that," before she went on to say, "You've constantly put me down, bullied, and belittled countless female workers, including me. Is that support?" Priscilla Kelly of MLW, who was also in the WWE Mae Young Classic, she went on to say, "Remember publicly putting me down on Twitter last year for something that did not involve you whatsoever." I'm assuming that was the tampon spot that went viral because of Priscilla Kelly. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that is what everybody kind of chimed in on. "That didn't involve you whatsoever, then continuing to drag my name to other people for it. Pepperidge Farm remembers. You should probably delete this tweet." Now, La Rosa Negra, an independent wrestler from Puerto Rico who is the victim in this situation, has come forward thanking Allison for the tweet. She claims to be the wrestler allegedly spit on by Tessa in Japan. Kay confirmed to Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp that this situation was indeed true. So La Rosa Negra, the Black Rose, comes out on social media and says this while tweeting Sienna, or Allison Kay, and Chelsea Green. "Thank you so much. That story, yes, that happened on Japan 2017. If Tessa Blanchard do not remember it, I can. I am not a mean girl with any coworkers around the world. Be kind of racist is not ridiculous, is a sickness." Obviously, the language barrier and the language there is a little off, but you get what she's trying to say. Renee Michelle, Drake Maverick's wife, actually chimed in on this as well. And she backed up what Rosa said about this. And she said that Rosa feared she would get blacklisted from wrestling. Renee Michelle says, and I quote, "The day I got the call from my girlfriend La Rosa Negra of the incident, she made me promise to keep my mouth shut because she was afraid of being blackballed by Tessa. As promised, I did. So I helped her get into Marvelous, which is another Japanese promotion. Isla Dawn was another one who came out and spoke out against Tessa. She says, as someone who experienced your bullying firsthand, received regular verbal abuse, was spat on, so that's two people now in this situation that Tessa supposedly spit on. had rumors spread about me, dealt with multiple attempts by you to blacklist me from other companies, plus more. I just pray you now follow your own advice. We had another person come out who I'm not really familiar with, so pardon me. Rebel. She comes out and says, I like to think that people change over time, but I can confirm the bad behavior and non-supportive attitude in Japan. I was there. AEW's Big Swole has come forward, and she has more information about the La Rosa Negra incident, saying that she had conversations with both Rosa and Tessa Blanchard about hashing out their differences. She said this. Big Swole is actually Cedric Alexander's wife, and she's a part of the AEW women's division. She said this, and I quote, so since we're telling stories, Big Swole's turn. I won't speak on all other stories, but the one about La Rosa I know personally. This past year at WrestleCade, I spoke to her about this and about hashing it out with Tessa. I've spoken to Tessa as well after talking with La Rosa, and I've decided it needed to be dealt with. Conversation needed to happen because this was getting intense over the years. As a black woman, this sickened me that this happened to a friend of mine. We have now been dealing with this since it happened. It's just now finding light on social media. People are entitled to deal with this how they want. I just want the world to know the last part of the story. Another AEW superstar in their women's division, Shauna, came out and chimed in on this. She says, and I quote, she did more nasty stuff in Japan. Never forget. Practice what you preach, sweetheart. I stand by La Rosa Negra. She's a fun-loving person who would never disrespect anyone. Much love to you, Rosa. Then obviously you get some of the people on the Impact roster defending Tessa Blanchard. Moose spoke up about this, and he actually went one-on-one with Rhino at Hard to Kill. Moose says this, and I quote, in regards to Allison Kay and Chelsea Green, he aimed his tweet at both of them. I guess you and Chelsea Green are absolute angels with a clean past. The timing of these tweets from you guys shows a lot about your characters. End quote. I don't know why he actually had to chime in with that because I don't really agree with his stance on this situation whatsoever. And being that he is a co-worker of Tessa Blanchard, obviously he's coming to her defense. Now, Fightful. Sean Ross Sapp has heard from additional names who have said that she's made some significant changes since joining Impact Wrestling, which I absolutely believe. I absolutely believe she's made some significant changes since these incidents. And it's typically been on best behavior while with Impact Wrestling. Sean Ross Sapp has also heard of a couple of wrestlers who stated that they've heard stories about Blanchard but haven't experienced anything themselves in that regard, which is pretty much 99% of social media. Tessa Blanchard released the following two statements on her Twitter. Both deny all the above claims. She says, and I quote, I've never been anything, and this is to Chelsea Green, by the way. She's quote tweeting Chelsea Green. I've never been anything but kind to you. I've dealt with mean girls since I've started. Not saying I am a saint. Hell, I've had my ups and downs and I've made my silly decisions. Such is life. You have zero merit in your comments. Instead, putting me down here for a little clout. You've got my cell phone number. Not true. That's my statement. And the most attention I will give this because of how it actually sounds ridiculous. End quote. It's pretty much what happened on social media. That's the entire story here on social media with Tessa Blanchard. Now, I watched the match with Tessa and Sami Callihan, as I've been following the two for a couple of years now, roughly about the same amount of time. I followed Tessa since the first Mae Young Classic, where she was expected to defeat Kairi Sane, and that was by the majority of the audience watching and predicting what was going to happen in that Mae Young Classic. Everybody expected Tessa to advance and more than likely win that Mae Young Classic tournament, which Kairi Sane ended up winning. Just based on who she was, Tessa was supposed to win. She did not. I was impressed by that one outing alone. I also had the opportunity to call matches for her where I sit at commentary with House of Glory. She comes off a lot bigger on Impact TV. It was at the Impact Code Red show earlier in 2019 that was in conjunction with House of Glory at our venue, Amazura, the NYC Arena. And I seen Tessa hours before the show going over things with Scarlett Bordeaux and one of our other female performers in House of Glory, Ultraviolet. I wanted to go up to her and introduce myself because not only was I a fan, but I was going to be on commentary for the show, which I wasn't, but only for one match because it was an Impact ruling, even though they were in our venue. I wanted to introduce myself for the most part because I always say what's up to anybody from House of Glory that I run into in the venue hours before the show. Violet is always one of those people that I say hello to. She's a sweetheart. Tessa looked super professional and seemed to be super interactive with what was being planned out for her match that evening. I also had the chance to call one of her matches with Sonya Strong, another one of our female stars in House of Glory, and she came off very professional in that situation as well. I'm stating this because I don't want people to assume I'm a bandwagon fan, and I am always honest with you guys. I don't watch or review Impact, which if you've been watching the channel, you would know that to be a fact. I don't watch or review Impact, but that doesn't mean I don't know what's going on in Impact or MLW or New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't review any of these other promotions, but that doesn't mean I don't know. So I don't know why people would assume that I don't know who Tessa Blanchard is, how Tessa Blanchard works, or what she's about. Same thing goes for Sami Callihan. He's another one. I simply stated on social media after the match was over that I loved what they both produced in the main event. I went on to say that I think Sami can main event any show in any promotion around the world, period. That's how good he is. Tessa Blanchard, to me, is the best female pro wrestler in the United States, possibly the world. She is the complete package. If you don't agree with that, I'm sorry. That is my opinion. Sami's another one. I don't want to blow his spot or anything because I know how involved he is with his character and the way he comes off on TV. But every time I've seen him, even when I had to do some silly angles with him that really amounted to nothing in House of Glory, he was always super nice to me, always respectful. And I admire the work that man puts in every single time he steps into the ring. He's come through House of Glory several times. He's even held one of our major championships. I enjoy both of their work immensely. Tessa, in my eyes, like I said, is the best female performer in North America, and it isn't even close. You can all argue over your Sashas and your Charlottes and your Io Shirai's and your Asukas down in the comments. I don't give a shit. Tessa is mine. I've said it multiple times on this podcast and in conjunction with her being in the WWE with Charlotte, and that is the only women's match following WrestleMania 35 that would even be on my radar to main event another WrestleMania. I don't know Tessa as a person. Neither does anybody acting like they do on social media. People tend to jump at the chance to fulfill this void in their life with something like this because they have nothing going on in their own. Social media was an ugly place Saturday and Sunday night after she won the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. I was in the middle of it for simply speaking on behalf of her in-ring work with Sami. I was labeled a racist for simply enjoying the match with Sami and Tessa at Hard to Kill. Again, these people have the IQ of a fucking box of sprinkles, so I'm not surprised. Though I don't know Tessa, I do want to think that people change or grow up and mature, and what you see on the internet is simply what you see on the internet and nothing more. And while I do think over time as we age, some people, not all, change for the better. They learn from their mistakes and they grow. This might be a mistake that Tessa Blanchard can only blame on herself. This could have all been avoided. She knows herself better than anyone. She knows what she's done in the past. And I'm sure what she's done, those people are following her with eagle eyes. So why put yourself out there in the way that she did on social media one night before the biggest match of your professional wrestling career and open up the floodgates for all those who seen you at your worst to potentially ruin your night and worse, your career moving forward. I'm sure she knows this now after the fact and does not need to hear it from me or any other goon in the community, but it's true. These reports, I am sure, would have surfaced in the future regardless. They always do. Just go ask Lars Sullivan. One way or another, but she at least would have spared herself pretty much this entire weekend and won the Impact World Championship. And the only thing people would have been arguing about is the outcome of the match. Should a woman be the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion? That's the only thing people would have been arguing over in that wrestling sense. Not how Tessa is a racist and how she spit on several performers and now is being rewarded for it as the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion and a female that made history in the industry. Do I believe the stories from the several that have come forward? Yes, I do. I 100% agree with everything that has been stated by the gang that has come out on social media. There's too many, with some having the same stories, with the victim in all this, La Negra Rosa, who came forward as well. Tessa didn't help her cause either with the tweet that she put out, simply saying, not true. And what she said to the live crowd Sunday night after the show went off the air, and I quote, "Nobody in this life is perfect. We are all human." Those sound like the words of someone who knows they are guilty. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com has come out and stated what he stated in these reports. That he's heard a lot of the backstage abuse brought on by Tessa is true, and he is one of the more credible sources in the industry right now. Why would he go and fabricate a story and risk his reputation? I don't think he'd do that. None of this shitstorm is coming up because of her crowning moments and because she was making history. I think we all assumed, and the industry assumed, including her peers, that when the rematch with Callihan was announced, what the outcome was going to be. Why didn't anyone come forward then or in the weeks leading to her match with Sami? Some people claim jealousy on the other women who are doing this to Tessa, fans playing their fandom card, which is absolutely disgusting and pathetic. Please go get a life. Fans using their fandom card without using the one functioning brain cell that they actually do have. I highly doubt this gang of women sat around all day on Skype, having drinks, laughing with one another, devised a masterful scheme to plan on taking out Tessa before her big world title moment. It's the same when I've mentioned these fucking idiots in the community that you still see every time I mention Sasha Banks and how I love Sasha Banks and how she's another one of those women in North America that is the top of her fucking profession. How you still see these people talking about Sasha and how she purposely ended Paige's career. Yes, because when she woke up that morning, while sitting at the kitchen table pouring milk into her Raisin Bran, looking into Makaze's eyes, said, "Hey, honey, I think I'm going to kick Paige so hard in the neck and the head region that I will end her career tonight. Where are we going for drinks afterwards to celebrate?" This was not done on purpose by this gang of women. This was said because Tessa herself opened the floodgates, knowing her past quite well, and exposed herself for being a hypocrite. And all of the bad that she did to those who she worked with came back to bite her in the ass. Karma is real. We've all felt it in one way or another, and this was Tessa's time to feel it. I felt it. You felt it. Could it have been avoided? For the time being, yes. Would it have resurfaced in the future? Probably. It always does. Just go ask Mr. Sullivan, like I said before. You know who I think about when I am thinking about this Tessa Blanchard situation? Jim Cornette. Now, you might not care for Jim Cornette. You might not like him. You might love him. I don't know. Jim Cornette is probably the most polarizing figure in all of pro wrestling talk. Jim Cornette was fired from NWA Power for an inappropriate joke. Outdated, yes. Inappropriate, yes. But what isn't inappropriate nowadays on social media. Everybody's a fucking pussy. Made a joke about fried chicken while describing how tough Trevor Murdoch was. And here we have Tessa Blanchard, amidst the first real pro wrestling scandal of 2020, being rewarded as Impact's first female world heavyweight champion. There are those asking, why did Impact give Tessa Blanchard their world championship? What else were they going to do? Honestly, ask yourselves that question. What else were they going to do? What else did you want them to do? The promotion, whether you want to hear it or not, is dead. For all the Impact elitists out there that'll probably come at me with shovels and pitchforks, Impact is dead. They were dead after Tessa won it. They were dead before Tessa won it. Impact is dead. When you have the parent company that owns you in Anthem buy out Access TV just for the simple sake that they need to get Impact TV, that doesn't come off as good. That doesn't come off as a desirable product. I'm just throwing that out there. Impact needed any type of talking point that they could get coming out of this thing, and they got it. Impact doesn't give a shit if it's good, bad, ugly, left, right, up, down, night, day, sun, moon. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a shit. This is the same company that trotted Jeff Hardy out to the ring in a main event match with Sting, knowing that he should not even be in the fucking building, let alone a wrestling ring in the main event. You could take a look at what RVD has reduced himself to with his two girlfriends, his two stripper girlfriends. This is what they do. They pathetically and desperately seek attention, not saying all of it is bad, but I wasn't sure what I was watching when I watched Hard to Kill, a wrestling show, or if this was a scene that starts the latest Bang Bus fucking trailer. Tessa is their biggest star. Not even close. They had no choice for the sake of the story, what they have done to build it, and the desperate cry for attention that they needed. It was going to happen regardless. I don't get why people are saying Impact killed themselves by making this rash or brash creative decision. They were already dead before this creative decision. Tessa winning the Impact title is a big deal in Impact Wrestling. Nowhere else in this industry is Tessa Blanchard winning the Impact World title a big deal, folks. You have to understand that. I can guarantee you that much. If Impact wants to pretend like this never happened or like it will blow over eventually, so be it. Great for them. They will do what they feel is right for their show, and it's great for Tessa. Like I said, she is their biggest star. Also, let's be honest, Tessa doesn't need Impact. Impact needs Tessa Blanchard more than Tessa Blanchard needs Impact Wrestling. If Impact didn't do this, they run the risk of losing their biggest star when her contract is up later this summer, and that is something that they absolutely cannot afford at this moment. My only concern for her is if she does decide to go anywhere else and continue to grow as a professional wrestler, what happens then? This isn't going to just go away. She can't wish upon a fucking star. She can't rub a magic lamp and have all of this that happened this past weekend go away. With that being said, it's something that will live with her for the rest of her career. It's the one reason why WWE didn't sign her to begin with. And all of those rumors that we heard, they were proved to be true coming out of this weekend. What happens when she goes to an actual major promotion? With sponsors like we see in and around WWE, on Raw, on SmackDown, on AEW. Will they want to get behind the company knowing they've employed a racist bully? How marketable is Tessa Blanchard going to be to an AEW or a WWE? That stink will haunt her for the rest of her career. Twitter, every interview she does from here on out, everywhere she goes. When she wins a major championship on a bigger stage, every moment will forever be tarnished by this one incident that happened over this weekend. And we could be potentially looking at that Tessa Blanchard and Charlotte Flair WrestleMania Dream match, a match that I've constantly stated on the podcast is the only other opportunity for the women to main event a WrestleMania by themselves. that might be completely off the table right now and possibly forever. In closing, Tessa tweeted out, "Hey women, try supporting one another. Cool things happen." The tweet that started all of this controversy certainly did show that women do support one another. Not just in the way Tessa Blanchard wanted before she was crowned the first ever female world champion in Impact Wrestling. I don't know what else to add on top of what I've written out here. I wanted to make sure I was calculated. I wanted to make sure that I had my words right. I wanted to make sure I didn't stutter. Wanted to make sure I hit all my points without really giving anybody any more fuel to add on top of their narrative about how negative I am and how I myself am a racist. This is not a good situation. I am still a fan of Tessa Blanchard. I'm a fan of her in-ring work. I don't know the woman personally. I probably will never have an opportunity to meet her face-to-face and know her on a personal level. I am a fan of what she does in between the ropes as a professional wrestler. I'm not a fan, and I do not agree with her actions, and I do not agree with what she has done to many of her peers in the community. This happened in 2017. I want to think people change for the better. I want to think people grow up and mature. But this happened back in 2017. How much has Tessa Blanchard grown over the last 3 years? Apparently not by much. I don't know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section about Tessa Blanchard and the accusations that she is a bully and a racist. And that is your Impact World Champion going on into the rest of the winter, on into the spring for Impact Wrestling. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so very much for all your support. If you want to sound off in the comments, please sound off in the comments and let me know what you think of this situation. Let me know what you think of my views on this. Let me know what you were thinking about when all this went down. Let me know what you think of the match. I love the match. I thought the match was great. I thought it lived up to being a main event. I thought that they played it out perfectly. I thought that it was a believable outcome and how Tessa won the championship and how she put Sami away. I thought it was great. How they book it from here and where they go from here is anybody's guess. This might be something that Impact did for attention. This might be Impact now devising a plan to take the title off of Tessa Blanchard because they really do not want the bad press and the negative publicity. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to follow. It's going to be interesting to see what Impact Wrestling does from this point on with their new world champion. Sound off. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. And I will see you guys right back here for more content right here on Off the Script. Until then, thank you so much, guys. Hit that thumbs up. And I will see you right back here on Tuesday with more content. See you then.